Hello and welcome back, adventurers. Today we are actually going to do something very special, and that is finish out our final skill deep dive. That's right, we are here with Thievery to finish things off. It's not to say I'm not going to have some video about wrapping it all up, but for now. So, what is Thievery all about? Well, Thievery is not just about stealing, although that's clearly part of it, or else they wouldn't have called it Thievery. It's also about picking locks, disabling devices, all sorts of things, but also about stealing. Having said that, we're going to do the usual thing. We're going to talk about the untrained actions, the trained actions, the feats, and give a few notes like we do with every skill. So we have two untrained actions this time and two trained actions. Let's go ahead and jump into those untrained actions. First one is palm an object. This is one action. You are going to pick up a small unattended item and try not to be noticed. Generally, the item has to be of negligible weight, but there's some GM discretion on that. You then make a thievery check against the perception DC of every creature potentially observing you or currently observing you. On a success, the creature doesn't notice you palm the object. On a fail, it notices. That simple. That's all there is to it, notice or not. The other trained action we have is, unsurprisingly, steal. This is one action. You attempt to take an object from a creature without being noticed. It usually has to be of negligible weight. You must have a free hand to do this, and the creature cannot be in combat or on guard, like ready for combat. You attempt a thievery check against the perception DC of the creature that's got the object. The GM might increase this depending on like where the object is. So if you're trying to like snatch it out of a pocket or, I don't know, take it off from within their shoe or something crazy, you're going to get probably some sort of penalty to it. Um, yeah, it's usually like a -5 if it's closely guarded, is the suggestion, but GMs, do what you do. You might have to check your roll against the perception DC of others who can observe you at the same time. This is also GM dependent. Like in a really crowded area, maybe nobody could possibly even see you do it. And so it's just a feeling thing. But maybe if it's you're stealing off of somebody in a room where it's really large and there's all of like four of you in it, yeah, somebody might notice. Anyway, if you succeed, you steal the object without notice. If you fail, you're caught before you can actually steal it, so you don't even get the object, and the GM is going to determine what response looks like. So, how about those trained actions? Well, we have two of those, like I said. Starting with disable a device. Now, this is two actions, and the result ultimately depends on the device itself. Many take more than one check to disable. Some take higher levels of training, like they might tell you, and this is things that you can find in the different guides for the game. Might say, hey, it takes 3 successes to disable this device, whatever it may be. And some do actually require thieves' tools in order to disable. Then you're going to make a check against the DC of the device or some DC set by the GM. On a crit success, you get 2 successes toward disabling a device, or you just disable it if it took two or less. On a success, you get 1 success toward disabling it, or you finish if it had one or less. On a fail, you don't disable it or get anything toward disabling it. And on a crit fail, you trigger the device, which is usually a bad thing. And our final action is pick a lock. This is two actions. You have to have a thieves toolkit with you to do it. And this basically works like disabling a device. Locks have DCs, just like devices do. GMs can set it, just like devices. Outcomes, crit success, just like it works for a device. On a success, same thing, except for someone might detect that the lock has been tampered with even after you succeed. And on a crit fail, you're going to break your toolkit, and the lock obviously takes some damage. So if you try to get in without anybody noticing, they're going to probably notice if they inspect it at all. So that's an interesting mix. While you probably won't palm an object in combat, there's times where that could make sense. And disabling a device and picking a lock absolutely do come up in combat, but plenty of times out of combat as well. Honestly, though, many, if not all, these will come up during an adventure at some point. Whether you're taking things you need, for a plot hook, or stealing from the evil king, breaking into a house, or just trying not to die as you walk down a hallway, they're going to come up. With that in mind, what does it look like to take feats that might help you with these things? Well, Turns out there's not that many. We only have 8 feats today, which is pretty shallow compared to a lot of the skills. But maybe they're really good. We'll find out. Starting off with Concealing Legerdemain. This is level 1, requires Trained. When you go to conceal an object, which is a action, mind you, this is not a thievery action. You can use thievery instead, though, now, and you're going to make checks, and any DC you make around it uses thievery instead of stealth. You must keep making those checks this way throughout the process if you're trying to, like, conceal it as you go through somewhere, and you can never switch back to stealth midway. So you're just living on thievery. But it could be nice if you just want to live with really deeply working on one skill. Then we have Dirty Trick. This is level 1, requires Trained, takes 1 action, and has the attack and manipulate traits. So you must have a hand free here. And then you have to be in melee range of the creature you're targeting with this. For the 1 action, you're then going to attempt a thievery check against its reflex DC. On a crit success, the target becomes clumsy 1 until it uses an action to stop being clumsy. On a success, it's the same as crit, only but it lasts 1 round instead of requiring them to make an action. And on a crit fail, you fall prone, which isn't great. But it does give you something to do in combat with thievery. Then we've got Pickpocket. Level 1 requires Trained. You can steal or palm an object that is closely guarded or in a pocket or such without a penalty. You still can't take somebody's, like, shoe off of them or something, because that's too obvious, and yeah, you're not hiding that. But at least you can take things out of pockets or out of bags and things like that. If you're master, you can try to steal in combat now, but it takes 2 actions, but you can. But that -5 penalty does come back if you're doing this in combat. Still pretty cool, though. Then we have Subtle Theft. This is level 1, requires Trained. When you successfully steal, other creatures get a -2 circumstance penalty to their perception DCs to notice you do it. Also, if you create a diversion, which is a deception action, by the way, taking a single palm object or steal action doesn't end the undetected condition. So basically, you create a diversion, then you go ahead and steal, and it's not going to affect the what you get as a bonus for creating a diversion, which is nice. So it's kind of putting things together for you and helping you build that real thief design as your character. Then we have Wary Disarmament. Now we're at level 2, requires Expert. If you set off a device or a trap while trying to disarm it, you get a +2 circumstance bonus to your AC or save, whatever it triggers against you, for its initial action that it happens when you trigger it, right? So if it's a trap that swings at you with a saw blade, you're going to get a +2 circumstance bonus to your AC against the saw blade's attack, for instance. But it's only against the initial action. So if that then afterward, you know, it's able to, like, hurl blades at you or something, you're not getting any bonus to that, just the initial swipe. Then we have Quick Unlock, straight up to level 7. Yeah, there's just the one level 2 feat here. So level 7 now requires Master, and Pick a Lock is 1 action. Honestly, it sounds like not much. Kind of a big deal when you really need to pick a lock in combat, because you used to just be able to pick a lock once in combat. Now you could potentially do it 3 times. That's a huge change. So if you're seeing yourself do this in combat, it's probably worth it. Next up, we have Tumbling Theft. This is level 7 again, expert in thievery and acrobatics. If you crit succeed to tumble through an enemy's space, you can attempt to steal from it as a reaction. So, like, midway under them, you're going to try to steal as a reaction. You get a +1 circumstance bonus to the check to steal. What you can steal, though, is limited to what's available from the angle at which you're going past them, and it can't be anything in containers or being held. So, maybe you steal the holster off them so they can't holster their gun anymore. Or I don't know. Nothing else came to mind right away. You're rolling under them. Be creative. And finally, we have Legendary Thief. Level 15 requires Legendary and requires the Pickpocket feat. So keep in mind that was the one where you can steal something out of somebody's, like, pocket and stuff. Hence the name Pickpocket. You can steal almost anything now. Something being held, somebody's shoes, the horse they're riding, whatever. But it will take at least 1 minute. It could be longer, depending on what the GM says. And you have to be able to stay hidden somehow in a crowd, in darkness, whatever. Once Stolen, onlookers might notice if it's really obvious, like armor or a horse, but by then you've stolen it, so okay, cool. The classes that easily take advantage of thievery, thanks to having a primary ability score and dexterity, are champion, fighter, ranger, monk, swashbuckler, gunslinger, and exemplar, a fair number. However, there are none that actually get training in thievery at level 1, interestingly. Many classes, though, do have subclasses that can grant you thievery training. But again, it's level 1 training, you can just grab it. For the GMs out there, we mostly see the setting of DCs here. So it's not as difficult as some of the skills to deal with, but there is a lot of space to play with, giving your party a real challenge here. So I know there's a lot of advice out there about picking locks, but I'm going to echo my favorite, which is try to turn a fail or crit fail into something that isn't just a blocker for the party, right? Either make sure there are other options, breaking through it with athletics, using the environment creatively, or just allow the lock to open, but it comes with some sort of like brutal penalty, especially on a crit fail. It can have a really brutal penalty, like, it requires a great deal of time to repair it if you want to make it seem like it wasn't broken into, or, you know, make it so that obviously they're going to break their thieves' tools, make it really hard to fix them again, something like that. But let them move forward. Don't completely block them with something that requires unlocking. I really like fail forward and fail with consequences because it lets you advance the story, but it's not the only option. You can truly block them if you feel it's really necessary for the story that they are blocked by it, and that's a fine consequence. As for things like stealing and palming an object, remember that just because an observer is aware doesn't mean that they're going to call it out. Let your party sometimes think that they got away with it, and it'll come up later, right? Oh, nobody saw me do this because nobody reacted. Doesn't mean the guard didn't see it, they just didn't do anything about it at the time. Blackmail, who knows? But it can be fun to play around with that as well. Oh, and if someone takes Legendary Thief, let them enjoy the creativity. Let them try to, steal crazy things. They put a lot of work into having this. You're high level. It can be funny. I mean, so what if they want to steal somebody's horse? If they're willing to put the time in and they can meet the requirements, why not? Anyway, it's time for me to not only palm a snack, but also wrap up this skill series. Thank you all for checking these videos out. It honestly means so much to me that some of you are getting actual value out of them. I know they aren't exactly my most viewed videos, but I really do think that they could be helpful to people, especially new players. I will never say no to a subscribe, by the way, if you've really enjoyed the series or anything that I do. I don't bring this up a lot, but I really do appreciate it. It does feel good. Makes me feel like I'm doing something that people find value in. Anyway, now that you're done with this series, unless I do a wrap up video, no promises, but very likely. We'll see. I don't know. Check out some of the other series I do. And as always, adventure on.